Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. I'm Santiago, Kneeland, your host. In today's topic, we're going to be talking about personality. On the Divine Within podcast, we share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey. I have two of my favorite guests. We have very good discussions with me. I have Don and I have James. I'll introduce you in a minute. But first, I want to mention or dive into what is personality. What are we going to be talking about? And there's a definition that I really like. It says that the true definition of personality transcends the cultural or common understanding of it as merely a set of traits or behaviors. Personality is described as unique, unchangeable, and divinely bestowed reality that integrates the material, the mental, and spiritual aspects of a being. Unlike the body, mind, or even the evolving soul, personality remains constant and serves as the unifying agent of individuality. It is a direct gift from the Universal Father, making each individual irreplaceable and eternally identifiable, regardless of the changes in form or spiritual status. This understanding elevates personality beyond mere psychological constructs, positioning it as at the core of selfhood and reflection of divine intentionality. So that's a very nice topic. And to help us understand and make sense of all of this, I have two very good dear friends of mine. I have James Woodward. He has been a carpenter and working musician most of his life. Like others who came of age in the 1960s, he became a hippie and a traveling minstrel. His search for deeper spiritual meanings and more Jesus led him to the Urantia book in 1973. Following a visit to Urantia Foundation headquarters in Chicago, James was certain that he had discovered a new epochal revelation. Later, James became inactive in the Urantia book community, and his volunteered service led to joining the staff of the Urantia Foundation, where he managed the Reader Services Department, and in 2005, he became the executive administrator of the Urantia Association, where he continues to serve in various leadership roles. Recently, James has released a second album of original songs as Jay Woody, and he edits Urantia-inspired books. He is currently writing his own book about the spiritual adventures of being a faith child of a loving Heavenly Father. So welcome, James. Welcome to this podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, Santiago, and a good lead off. I love that definition. We'll get into that for sure.
For sure. There's a lot of meat in these bones to pick. And now I'm going to be introducing Donald Clementin, who goes by Don, was born and raised in the Bay Area of Northern California. He worked in the engineering field as a structural draftsman until his retirement, or as he likes to say, repurposing in 2020. Don has lived in Boston, Massachusetts since 1999, where he resides with his wife and supportive Urantia book partner. In 2012, he met the authors behind what would become the Christ Experiment, and has since become a dedicated partner in that effort. Don continues to actively promote and advance the teachings of the Urantia book. Welcome, Don. It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to this discussion.
Perfect. So let's dive in. We have a lot to talk. And the first segment, or the first part, is the definition. As I read, we have to redefine. There's a lot of things out there, some popular knowledge on what personality is, but based on this, what can you tell us? You want to lead us off, James?
Okay, good lead in, especially in that what you read about the personality being somewhat attached to body, mind, and spirit, but also transcending all of those. And that's one of you might call the problems with modern psychology in their definitions, is that they're very familiar and they work with body and mind, but they don't really understand spirit. And for them, I mean, some do, yes, but as far as in the scientific aspect, we're still in that the battle, between science and religion, and the scientists aren't allowed to go in and talk about spirit. Although some do, particularly people like Carl Jung, one of our famous psychologists who's had a lot to say about personality. But it began, the 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 scientific research on in psychology and personality in particular followed the route of modern medicine, where
Mm-hmm.
modern medicine began by looking for things that were wrong in the body and going in and cutting them out. It was all kind of based on pathology, and
Okay.
so and I'm this is real general here. These are big generalizations, but in the psychology realm, it took off sort of in the same realm, especially with Freud, sort of the father of modern psychology, going in and looking at these pathologies, neuroses, and psychoses, and trying to figure out,
Okay.
what how to fix them basically, and how they arose. Uh, so basically, what I'm saying is that in even in contemporary psychology, they don't allow the spirit component in. And it's kind of like sometimes I say, well, it's like trying to sit on a two-legged stool.
Yeah.
You've got body and mind. And if you sit on those two, it's not very stable.
Yeah.
Um, and we know in so many places these triads are so important, body, mind, and spirit, to have a comprehensive understanding of the whole topic, whatever it might be. So uh, that's the beautiful thing that the Urantia book does, is adds that third leg of the stool of spirit, and gives us just this big expanded understanding of so many things, and in particular uh, of personality. So
Yeah.
that's just a kind of a general a background of this is what we're up against, even with modern really progressive psychology, is uh, they can't really go into the spiritual component, and because of that, when they're trying to dissect personality, they're missing a key component.
Definitely, definitely, and like you said, you can't really understand personality completely until you see see it in full. And the triad, this comes from the origin. I mean, from the origin of the universe. So, I mean, and this is just replicating, and that's one of the ways that we see how the patterns and the mathematics of the universe really replicate, and how it affects us, or how it interacts, or the way that it's manifested, let's say, in us, which is through in the planes of the matter, of the mind, and of the spirit. So yeah, I think that's the once we understand that we're missing that component, it becomes much more clear. So thanks for that definition, James. And can you tell us about this topic, Don?
Yes, I recall that in the introduction, when you were defining personality, you described it as a gift from the Universal Father, which we all have. So I think what James alluded to in making these distinctions between the personality and our individual characteristics that define us to friends and family needs to be made, and you cannot step around the idea of bringing in spirit. So if the personality bestowed by the Universal Father is perfect, and we as individuals are flawed, and we do things that are not moral or ethical all the time, does that mean that the personality bestowal of the Father is flawed? No, it isn't. That personality bestowal is purely perfect. So
Mm-hmm.
if it maintains perfection, it must be distinct from the character that we develop over the course of our life. And the way I like to think about it is this: that personality bestowal, which is perfect, will someday be a part of us, and we will be perfect, but it'll take time. And so in this life, even though we have this personal bestowal by the Father, it's like a beautiful sculpture that someone has developed and they put in a park. But then you'll have someone that wants to maybe put a little graffiti on it, or
Uh,
maybe take a baseball cap and hang it on his head to the
uh,
side,
yeah,
or maybe so it's these things that we as individuals put on top of the personality that make it appear that there's a flaw in it. There isn't. It's the stuff we put on.
yeah, yeah. Totally, totally. And uh, and I like that. And as always, and we have been finding out, and I mean, I think throughout life, and we point that out a lot, is that we are evolving. We're going towards perfection. We're going towards that, from potential to actual, and that's the whole purpose. So it also serves as and like this, it serves as a blueprint, or a pathway. And what I like most about this definition, and I want to have your take on it, is that it's immutable. It's like it's your cosmic DNA, and this is where I see, the real survival, life after death, and what Jesus really taught us, which was, eternal survival, is really based on this, that this is us. This is, that spirit, that person. I mean, that's that personality within these three elements that constitute it is really us. And that, it transcends just the material and onto eternity. And I just love that concept.
So it's like the Father says here is a portrait of your very best self. That's what he's bestowed. The
Yeah.
paragon, the model. Now go and you become that,
Yeah. And it's interesting.
which is the essence of what Jesus said when he says, you must become perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. So we're constantly working on matching and bringing our character, our traits, our outlook, those other components James mentioned, the body, the mind, bring them all in harmony with this paragon of perfection, which is unique to us that the Father has bestowed. And it will take some time to do that. We won't finish it all in this life, but just think of what a mighty transformation that is for the individual in this life as you work to achieve it. You become a
Totally.
you become a beautiful, more better person, and it's that's the thing that drew so many people to Jesus. It wasn't always what he said. They just looked at him and it was like, wow, the man.
Yeah, no, definitely. And one thing that we have to take into consideration before I let you, before I get your take on this, James, is, you know, paradise is perfect. There's no time there, because it's all in perfection. But we have this gift as well, or this opportunity, because we will be perfect, and that's the beauty about time. We are imperfect, and that's where we start. And it's our career, it's our personality discovery, um and maximum potential and execution. And the word I like to use is actualization, that is going to get us to our final personality and to our perfection of personality. So it's really a lot to take, to consider that in paradise it's perfect, and we here in the realms of time and space have time and space in order for us to become perfect. Can you share something about on all this, Don? I mean, James. Sorry.
Well, we're already we're getting into it pretty deeply here right off, and I like that. But I'll back up just a little bit um, and focus on the limitations. Uh, I want to read a short
Okay.
definition um, from the psychology, from the scientific point of view. And it says personality is any person's collection of interrelated behavioral, cognitive, and emotional patterns that comprise a person's unique adjustment to life. These interrelated patterns are relatively stable but can change over long periods of time, driven by experiences and maturational processes, especially the adoption of social roles as worker or parent. And then they go on to say, although there is no consensus definition of personality, most theories focus on motivation and psychological interaction with one's environment. So
Okay.
that's kind of the state of of what science understands or theorizes, I should say, um, and especially this one uh, something that's pretty much inherent to psychological theory is that that personality can change, and that bumps right up against what the Urantia book talks about. What you were saying, Santiago, that and Don, that it's relatively immutable, that it comes directly from the Father and is potentially perfect. There's the catch word, is potentially perfect, um, and we are not anywhere near perfect, as Don was telling us there. So, but we have that potential, and I really like what you were saying there, Santiago, about actualizing it, and that's where the humanistic psychology sort of it started making progress from Freud and Adler, Alport, and then we get into Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, who got more into this. Actually, the talking about the self actualization of a person, uh, where they started moving away a little bit from that. You know, dive in and carve out the defects of the
Yeah.
personality, and started talking about, well, maybe it's just the expression, and if we can realize it, that's another word that we can use as we're talking about personality in its expression, is realizing it and actualizing it,
Yeah.
because there is something in there that is really not even explainable. Just to go over as a contrast, uh, in the Urantia book, it says man's inadequate concept of the personality of the universal Father can be improved only by man's spiritual progress in the universe. So that goes to what we started talking about, the long journey ahead of us in the rest of our lives when we move beyond the body, but not the mind. The mind goes with us, and
Yeah.
definitely
The
the
material
spirit.
stays, the material and mind goes.